Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. So today we get to take a look at the 2024 Ford Mustang Darkhorse Premium. This model is finished off in an all-new color for 2024 called Blue Ember Metallic. It is a color-changing color for this Mustang. MSRPs for the premium model start right around $73,000. And powering the Darkhorse is the Gen 4 naturally aspirated 5-liter Coyote V8. This model is paired to the optional 10-speed automatic transmission, and it pumps out 500 horsepower and 418 pound-feet of torque, a slight increase over a normal GT Mustang. This is rear-wheel drive, weighs in at almost 4,000 pounds. 0 to 60 is 3.7 seconds. It has a top speed of 165 miles an hour. It also has a fuel capacity of 16 gallons. You'll expect to see around 14 miles per gallon in the city, 22 out on the highway. This has a wheelbase of 107 inches. Its overall length is 189.7. It has a width of 81.9 and a height of 55.2 inches. As we move on to the exterior styling now for the Ford Mustang Darkhorse, let's take a look at this exterior paint one more time. It's a little bit purple, a little bit blue, and a little bit black, depending on where the sunlight is hitting it. I think this is a fantastic new color. Definitely adds to the aggressiveness for this muscle car. Now, as we work our way to the hood, this does have a functional heat extraction piece finished off in gloss black. There's also matte black graphics along with the gray graphics and Mustang Darkhorse on the entire hood. Not a large bulge like in some of the previous Mustangs, but I think it gives it a great look. And you'll also notice there's more of that gray accent surrounding all of the grille trim accents. With the pony badge front and center, a gloss black for the rest of that grille, and very large inlets on both sides. Now, hopefully you caught that. We have the DRLs coming to life because I am in proximity of this vehicle, but there's the triple beam design for the headlights and the high beams, as well as the sequential design for those turn signals. Now, this model also has adaptive cruise, so that sensor is located down below. There's also a camera on the top of the windshield for that system. And then take a look at the large spoiler or front splitter for this, just to add to that aggressive look. Now, as we work our way to the side, this has a set of 19-inch wheels with that double spoke design, and this has Brembo brakes. They are finished off in the same color, Blue Ember Metallic. This has 6 pistons up front, 4 pistons in the rear, and this particular model has a very sticky setup for the tires. These are the Pirelli P0 Trofeos, so these definitely provide you a lot of grip, especially with all that power to the rear wheels. Now, there's the Darkhorse badge just behind the front tire, and then more of a gray trim to these side mirrors. There's also a gloss black for the entire roof to match the rest of the vinyl up front. And it has the classic Mustang design from the side, prominent line at the height of the door handles there, and then a very large side skirt as well. That is added down below to tie nicely with up front. And then there's another contoured line in the rear fender leading all the way to the rear, where this has a massive trunk-mounted spoiler. It has a two-tone design, so more of that brushed gray on the outside, the rest of it is gloss black. From the driver's seat, you can actually see through this lower section here, so it doesn't hinder your driver visibility. This has a backup camera, another Darkhorse badge. There are no Ford badges on this entire vehicle, which is neat to see. This has the 3D design for the LED sequential turn signals and the taillights, of course. A little bit different of a design from the previous model, but of course still having that very similar look. And then in the lower section, there's all these sensors, quad tip dual exhaust with a reverse light right in the middle. And of course, you can remote start this Mustang. You can also remote rev this particular model. So let's lock it, double tap this button, bring it to life. And once it has gone through its cold start, just hit unlock and lock. You can do that again. That is super loud. Just hold on that button and you can shut it off as needed. So a cool party trick for this. Now you can also use the button on the key fob or up underneath to open up the trunk. Now, I have found that the back seats do not recline, which is interesting to see, but with them up, you actually have a good bit of space. For a sports car like this, it makes it that much more practical, and there is some storage underneath the floor if you need to use any of that. And it's a very light trunk lid, so it's easy to close. And from this angle, the car will look black because we are on the shady side, but very neat to see. Now, we do have that proximity handle, so it will unlock as you approach the vehicle. And then for this interior, there's blue leather along with the Alcantara. There's a carbon fiber-like trim accent surrounding this brushed gray release handle. All of the window adjustments and then a little bit of storage down below. This also has the Bang & Olufsen sound system. Mustang Darkhorse is spelled out in blue down on the door sill. And then this has the blue recaro seats with the cutouts up top. There's more suede lining the inserts, and they are manual adjusting. So we have all of those controls, even the bar up front, to slide it forwards and backwards. Now, if I bring that backrest all the way forwards, that will allow me some space to hop into these back seats. Now, you're not buying a Ford Mustang to put full-size people in the back. As you can tell, not much legroom on that side. And at 5'10", I am ducking. I could ride around town if I really had to, but this is for extra storage space, or maybe a car seat. If you have kids, you still want a fun car, you could put them back here. But we have the same attention to detail, and then some small windows, so at least you can see out if you're stuck in the back. From there, I do need 2 hands to put that seat back into its original position. And now we can take a look at this beautiful steering wheel. We have solid leather along with Alcantara, flat bottom design with more of that carbon fiber-like trim. On the left side, there's all the cruise and adaptive cruise control settings. Right side, there's volume along with Bluetooth. You have a few steering wheel controls, and then all these are for the digital gauge cluster. With the 10-speed automatic, there's also the paddle shifters finished off in brushed aluminum. But let's fire this back up and get some more revs with that exhaust. And coming back to the gauge cluster, for the current setup, tach is on the left side with engine temperature. Right side, there's the fuel along with miles per hour. And then you can scroll through some vitals within the middle just by using those arrows I showed on the right side of the steering wheel. So you have a lot that you can go through, even the Mustang status, so you can see how it's currently set up. Moving to the controls on the left side, this is how you can go through the different driving modes. So I can put it into a normal. If I push on it again, we can go down into sport mode, where you'll see the graphic change. Track mode will change again. There's also drag strip, and then slippery, and the last one is custom. So these are the different driving modes that you can go into. However, you can also configure the gauge cluster to match with those. So if I go into the cluster theme, normal is what you have been seeing. If I go into sport, it will change the entire setup. Track mode will display the entire tach on the upper section. There's also a calm screen, so it minimizes everything. And the last one is Fox Body 87 to 93. So this will give you that old school vibe. If you were used to Mustangs from that era, now you can take a look at it. It even has a backlit in green just to match that theme. And you can also match driving modes as well. So when you use the controls over on that left side, it will actually change the gauge cluster with that mode. Very neat to see that. Now on this left side, there's all the headlight adjustments along with dimmer switches and a release for that trunk. And then as we work our way back to this infotainment system, let's go home, where the map is on one side. There's also news and phone. If I click on settings on the far right, you have a lot of general information that you can go into just to set this up as needed. And this also has the split screen. So I can go through some information on this right side while there's still info on that left side. If we go back to home and go into features, if you go into My Mustang, this is how you can get into the cluster theme as I just showed, but you can also get into your acceleration timer. You have brake performance as well as a lap timer. This model even has the drift brake. So when you push on that, now you can use the e-brake as a drift brake, and line lock is also available, so you can take this to the drag strip. Now there's also the auxiliary gauges, so you can monitor all that information. There's a custom mode, so you have different profiles that you can set up, and there's a lot of different colors that you can go through for your display and your ambient lighting. Over on the right side, this is also how I went through the different exhaust notes. So you have quiet, then you have the normal setting, you have sport, and track. So just depending on how you'd like to listen to your Mustang for the day. And then underneath that, there's all the climate adjustments, heated steering wheel, temperature dials are on both sides, and then there's the fan speed right there too that you can quickly get into, and some other defrosters. Now underneath that, there's 2 air vents with more of that carbon fiber like trim, and then to the right of the engine start stop button, we have a shortcut to My Mustang. There's traction control, hazards, a favorites, you have a defroster, and then power and volume for the radio. Now in front of the shifter, there's wireless charging with a few auxiliaries. And then if we push the release on the top and put it back into reverse, you have a pretty large backup camera with all of those guidelines. Drive is all the way one to the back there, and then all the way back is the manual setting, allowing you to use the paddle shifters. Now we have the electronic e-brake. Pulling up on it is how the e-brake will engage, and then pushing down on it is how you can release it. There's also 2 cup holders on that right side, and then good bit of storage space in the armrest with another auxiliary. And then on the passenger side, plenty of room in the glove box. There's also a Darkhorse badge over on that side as well. Up in the headliner, there's a sunglass holder with all the dome lights. And then here's a look at visibility from the driver's seat. You can see that small window in the back over that shoulder. And then over this side, you could maybe use that window if you wanted to, but really not all that hard to see around. All right, so now that we're behind the wheel for the Ford Mustang Darkhorse, we just finished driving this through the twisty mountains. So if you want to see our reactions with how phenomenal this car drives, check out that separate video. I need to get back into the mindset now of just doing the normal review. But I gotta say, I'm not a huge Mustang fan, and this is one heck of an American muscle car. It sounds good. We have a lot of driving modes. We have the recaro seats, which just hold you so well. And we have a pretty nice daily driving sports car, if you want to call it that, muscle car. I've been able to drive it a few days since I did the beginning of this video just to get my bearings with this car. And unfortunately, the only thing is that I don't like is that it's very gas thirsty. It doesn't take premium though, which is interesting to note. So you will save a little bit of money at the pump not having to put premium in this, but I am going through gas pretty quickly, especially with the mountain drive that we just did. But aside from that, you're buying this for the miles per gallon, which this car has given me. It's a lot of fun to drive. I will note though, with this 10-speed automatic transmission, it's more fun to drive it in the manual setting while you're actually doing performance style driving. In stop and go everyday traffic, drive is going to be better simply because just I guess with the amount of gears or how the gear ratio is, at slower speeds, there's a lot more lag and kind of jerkiness in between the shifts versus doing the driving that I just did. They're super crisp, very responsive, and I like that the vehicle allows you to play with all of the gears too. So for the driving we did, I was only using 3, maybe 4 gears, but now that we're just cruising in 10th gear, you can go up to 10th gear and just cruise like normal. So this is a really good blend between performance style driving where it can actually handle well and just being a good and practical daily driver. You have the back seat space, more for extra storage, and the trunk too, just to give you that much more interior space. And what I love about this car too is the fact that all these drive modes actually do something different. So when you push on the button down below to bring up that screen and you go into custom mode, you can actually go through the driving modes too, which I didn't show earlier, but everything changes. You have the steering, suspension, you have traction control, as well as the exhaust. So all of them actually do something different to give you different driving characteristics based on how you're driving for the day. So it's really cool that you actually have functional changes that you can make to this. Switching over to the POV angle now, we're in sport mode, 2nd gear. Here we go. And just a few twisties to throw into this video, but check out the full mountain video that we did with our reactions and how well this drives. But this is what it's like to be behind the wheel of the Mustang Darkhorse. And like I said earlier, it's such a fun sports car to drive. The paddles are actually very responsive, as you just saw in some of those twisties. Now, as you just saw, I had to downshift about 4 times to get down to 3rd or 4th gear. Now, with traffic in front of us, of course, that is going to be a factor in that, but it is a nice transmission to go with. if you're not a 3 pedals type of person. So I do like that it is functional and easy to use. But aside from that, just daily driving this over the last few days has been a lot of fun. This particular model has gotten a lot of attention. I think it's because this exterior color, it really pops. It looks good from the outside. On the inside, there's some refinements, as you can tell, compared to the previous generation Mustang as far as the technology features and everything goes. But it's nice. This one is pretty much fully loaded with the upgraded Recaro seats, so we are missing the heated and ventilated seats. With that option, it does delete those. We have the suspension, the brakes, and then if we put it back into the normal drive setting, even in sport mode, it shifts very quick. And then if I slow down a little bit, so even in the normal setting, it will shift very nicely too. So it's a fun car to drive, something that you can rip on, something that you can daily drive. And as far as visibility goes, very easy to see. There's a pillar over that left side there, but you can see around it very easily. But that is going to wrap it up for the all-new 2024 Ford Mustang Darkhorse Premium. If you guys enjoyed today's video, give it a huge thumbs up. Consider smashing that subscribe button so you don't miss out on our daily uploads, and check out the many other videos that we made with this Darkhorse. We even did a comparison with the Nismo that's currently following us at the moment, and you heard how quickly that downshifted as well. That's going to wrap it up. I will see you all in the next video.